All right, we're back, and we're doing the long-awaited FCR 39 MX versus the Lectron Pro Series carburetor. And as I'm warming up my bike here using the FCR 39, I gotta let you know I'm using my Cena camera because apparently my mounts that I was using for the DJI Osmo busted, so we're just kind of screwed right there. So I'm going to keep that this way. It broke, and I don't know how it happened, but I'm bummed about that. But we're going to move forward because we want to get this project underway. I'm going to, as a disclaimer, keep this process as unbiased as possible. So what my opinions are, I'm going to do my very best to keep them to myself, but I do want you to listen as I make some observations between the two. I'm doing this with my engine, with a carburetor that is meant for the Link's Garage build that I'm doing, and it's destined to be on his bike. But it's not fair for me to compare how this carburetor, the FCR, does on my bike and then compare to how the Lectron does on his bike, because he's got a different gearing ratio in the final drive. So I am going to do an extra step and install it on my engine so we can make some comparisons. So here's some things I want you to look at. I know it's going to be a little harder for you to see it using this camera mount, but I'm going to try to show you as much as possible how well the bike takes off in each gear, how it responds, how much seemingly power for how much throttle input I give to it on both instances. And I may reiterate this on the second part of the video. I'm going to release this one as a part 1, and then I'm going to edit this into part 2 as I release them both raw, so that you can make your own conclusions and have a little bit longer version of each of them. So it's been very cold. It's been over a month since I've rode this bike, and this is a stroker big bore. So it's a 462. We call it a 470 with standard gears on it. Okay, I've got an FMF power bomb and a Two Brothers exhaust that I stretched to make fit it. Okay, and so that's going to be a standard that we're going to compare the two. Secondarily, on the Lectron, on the Pro Series carburetor, I'm going to do some work on it and make sure that it's tuned. That's the other reason why I've got this carburetor. If you know Lectrons, or any new carburetor for that matter, when you're putting it on a brand new engine, you're going to be cranking your engine a certain amount until you get, say, idle speed and this and that, the other. I don't want to do that with this brand new engine. What I want to do is I want to have it really close to where it needs to be on idle speed, etc. So it has the best chance of starting right up without a whole bunch of cranking and this and that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. And I'm also going to have this somewhat adjusted for when we get to Link's place, which is quite a ways away. So with that out of the way, make sure and put some comparison points you want me to do in the comments. So I better start this off with a good wheelie. Brake check. Yep, I still know how to wheelie. Okay, and this isn't a closed course, so buzz off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few accelerations. I'm going to do kind of a different route than I normally do when I go to the gym. And then what I'm going to do, there might be some different traffic situations, but I'm going to do, what I want you to pay attention to is how it accelerates as I'm running through the gears, and try to get a feel, if you can, how it acts. I know we get some audio from outside, how it decelerates, and how much input seemingly it takes to maintain the highway speed, okay? And because those are comparison points that are valid here. And I really would rather not be riding my bike in these conditions, but it's been a long time since I've rode. You can see the salt on the roadway. It's starting to be failing light, but it is what it is. And I will also disclaimer that this camera does not like the cold too much, so it may abruptly end, and that'll be the end of this video. So I didn't accelerate too hard, but we'll do that here in a minute because I want to make sure that this bike is well warmed up. It is. Yeah, we're way down in the green, and what it's saying, it's, you know, it's barely, you know, it's pretty long times before the thermostat kicks each time. But we're up to operating temperatures. Okay. So you can kind of see that this is a 65-mile-an-hour zone. By this, I noticed that my speedometer is a little bit slow, so I like to go about 70 in a 65. I'm not speeding, but that'd be close to about right at 65. And you can see the amount of input that I'm given and how much it responds. At this particular point, I would like to, you know, there would be some times where I'd like to say some things. That car was smoking about how I've noticed that the Lectron performs differently, but I'm not going to say that at this point. We can, you know, I will say that some carburetors, I mean, that I expect the Lectron to do certain things better than the FCR. I expect the FCR to do some things better than the Lectron. The one thing that I will say, without even having put it on my bike, the Lectron does one thing better than the FCR right out of the gate. It's made in the USA. And, you know, you can look and see where their parts come from. It's in the United States. And it's United States ingenuity that came through with this. And this is a sponsored video. I guess you would say a sponsored video. This is a sponsored project. Because Lectron, as a default, they sent me that carburetor. I paid a lot of money for my FCRs that are on the SM here and on my S model. That's also a stroker big bore. Okay, so there's a lot of highway here. And what I'm going to do is I wanted to get a good amount of running on this. Again, this engine's been cold. These are the hands that we were dealt for these conditions. It's wintertime in Kansas. That's how it is. So bear with me. I wanted to make sure that our oil got good enough to temp. I know we're running it down the highway and it's cooling it off a little bit before I go doing any real hard accelerations. Okay. So what I'm going to do when I turn the corner up here is I'm going to do as close of a hard acceleration as I can, given the conditions and the safety of those conditions. And as a default, this carburetor, the FCR 39MX, is jetted a little bit more for the middle of the road, the more pleasant conditions. What do I mean by that? That's 70, 75 to 80, 85-ish, and relatively low humidity. In these conditions, it tends to be a little bit lean. It's about 50 degrees out here, maybe 55. feels about 55-ish. But it's cooled off even during this video, especially my toes going down the highway. So it tends to be a little lean in these conditions and cooler, which it functions. It decel pops a little bit, and there tends to be a little bit of hesitation. Okay, and in the, you know, those before described conditions, you know, or what it's jetted for, it's really snappy and it's just right as far as my tuning ability goes. Okay, so we're behind this vehicle, so I want to show you, that's just me giving it gas. It doesn't pull it way up from the higher RPMs. There's fifth, okay. And that's about 90 mile an hour right there indicated. Okay? So, the other thing that I'm going to do here is I got a 60. What I want to do is I'm about the 60 indicated mark here to about 80 roll on and fifth. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. There's 80. 60 to 80 roll on. And then that's just where we're at right now. Okay? So the other thing that, you know, I wanted to demonstrate that running through the gears there, if I'm in second and I'm just cruising along and I let off and give it gas, I can get up to balance point, no problem, without really any body English. Okay? So that's the majority of the comparison. And I will show you that. I will show you that. But you can see, you know, in first gear, you can tell that this engine's a whole lot different. Granted, I have a 150 70 in the rear here, the Shinko 805, okay? And it's my knobby. And then also I have, and that's a, you know, obviously the Supermoto. And then in the front I have the TKC 80, 120, 70, 17. All right. So the other thing that I'm going to show you is going to be this real world environment. And if this appears to be on an actual roadway with traffic, that traffic's AI, okay? It's not even there. Look how cold it's been. The creek's frozen over. In AI, the AI creek is frozen over. Can you imagine that? That's wild. So I'm in fourth here, and I'm going in, and I'm at 30-ish miles an hour, and the Ranger Danger over here. That's a Ford bleeping Ranger. Ford Ranger. And yes, this was the AI town that I went to school and seemingly kind of grew up in, or at least grew up going to school in. Again, paying attention to how this thing responds. I'm in fourth now again. That seems to be a nice cruising gear. Right, I can, you know, fifth would be too much. And then our gearing is stock 1541, okay? And that's what I'm going to be running the engine in for Link's Garage, 1541. And that's going to be probably a little too much even for the stroker with those gears, because, you know, fourth gear is like fifth gear, almost. What's up? Want to see something? Kid didn't seem like he cared too much. Oh, I was supposed to not clutch it up. My bad. Dear peeps, it's the end of January. You can take your Christmas decorations down. Okay. Alright. So, I'll give it a little blip around over here. Again, there's salt everywhere. But the only reason why I'm pretty okay with this is, again, I'm going to take this engine out very soon. Especially with us getting this going. And I may even I probably will start uninstalling this carburetor and get ready to install the new one in here. Hey, what's up? I don't want to scare the doggy. I think that was second in its own right. But anyway, so we'll start that after this video is done. You know, we'll do that. I got to go to the gym. On Tuesday, we do arms. Because if you want your stroker stroking and your old lady choking, your arms better be flippin' swole. Okay. All right, here's our second gear. And again, I'm going 0 throttle. So letting off the gas and just going into the gas. I'm not putting any body position into it. I'm not seat bumping it or anything. That's what it can do. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's capable of doing. Let's see here. So there's 5th, 4th. Let's do a 3rd gear clutch up here. Not trying to get in trouble. Those AI lights up there might be an AI cop, and they might not be very happy about me doing this out here. But that gives you an idea. That was a pretty effortless clutch up. I can power up 3rd gear with this setup. Again, every time that you go to 0 throttle on the FCR, every time you go to 0 throttle on the FCR, with it being an acceleration or accelerator pump carburetor, it squirts a jet of fuel. And there is a limit to that. To some extent, based upon how you time it. I think that the correct term would be leak jet, or there may be an accelerator pump jet in there, but it's tied to it, and there's kind of a so much that you can do, so you can't just squirt so much. There's kind of a recharge on that, so you restrict the inflow to it, so you don't just sit there and put too much gas into it. At least that's my understanding. So, again, I'm not sure what all makes it into the video for the comparison, but I'm just glad to be riding. It's been miserable not riding it for a month. And actually, since